Hello one, hello all. Welcome to this rapid review here on WILIscredia. I am Charles, otherwise known as CP. Today we're covering CENSOR. CENSOR stars Niamh Algar. Described as a horror, the description reads, after viewing a strangely familiar video nasty, Enid, a film censor, sets out to solve the past mystery of her sister's disappearance, embarking on a quest that dissolves the line between fiction and reality. The film is directed by Prano Bailey Bond. So the movie follows our lead character Enid, who is a film censor in England in the time of the video nasties, which takes place during the 80s, in which in Britain they were rather harsh. The story behind that being that if films were rated too gory or too much for a 18 rating, they were rated X and thus banned from being shown at any facility. And Enid is a censor who determines whether or not films can make it or get cut. Essentially, it's like the MPAA on steroids, if you can wrap your head around that. Our viewers across the pond should be quite familiar with this time period, as it's looked back on both fondly and negatively for some bizarre reason. I guess my first issue with this film is calling it a horror movie. I wouldn't. I mean, other than the fact that the character Enid is a censor who is rating horror films. Like you'll see gore, but it's by proxy for the most part. She's just rating movies that happen to have some gnarly things happen on a screen. Again, it's sort of by proxy that you're getting this horror, this gore. And over the course of the film, you're figuring out that Enid is opening a door to something that she isn't too secure of. Where this film shines is the atmosphere, the tone, the mood. It is so totally, it immerses you in that time period. I mean, right down to the lighting, the pinks and blues that you would get from a VHS. Anybody who's watched a VHS long enough knows that there's that pink side and that blue side, and that's quite prevalent throughout the movie. The lighting is just cupped with these blues and pinks, or at harsher periods, blues and reds, just completely setting up the atmosphere in a striking fashion. Our lead character Enid is really, and I don't mean, maybe I do, maybe I don't, isn't really anything special for most of the movie, but you are along for the ride, and as the movie gets further and further along, you're going down this rabbit hole with her, and it seems to get worse and worse, and you think you know what she's about to do, and you really don't. There's a certain point where you get this Lynchian, unreliable narrator vibe, and you're not quite sure what you're seeing, what's real, what's not. The third act certainly it's a crescendo of sorts, especially considering that, you know, for a good half, at least a half of the movie, this Enid character is so drab, just a censor who, you know, does her job well. She's quite to the T when it comes to grading and censoring these movies. But once something piques her interest, she's like I said, she's infatuated, and she's got to see what the hell the deal is, because it brings up something from her past, and she's sure of it, that it is what she thinks it is. This if for those of you looking for gore and like slashers and things like that, you're really not going to have a good time. This is a psychodrama, if anything, a psychological drama, we're more in this character's head and what she's suffering and going through, ultimately coming to a head for the third act. Nothing about the cinematography really jumps out. I mean, the setting, the atmosphere, the mood, they're all the tone of the movie. They're all top notch. Other than that, there's no real shots that jump out at me. There's nothing that really, something that I can look back on and say, oh, that was something that was quite memorable. Bailey Bond is a director that I'm not familiar with, although from what I understand, she doesn't have much of a track record. It's a movie that I didn't really find engaging, and again, I don't mean that in a negative way. The character is so drab. She's got this prototypical librarian look to her, hair pulled back, glasses, taking notes, just everything. If you were to have a librarian character in the 80s, this would be it. Enid would be it. And she totally goes by that character, the at least 2/3 of the movie. But you're not turned off by it. You're not exactly bored by it, but you're just waiting. You're waiting for it, the thing to happen, and it gets there. It gets there, and when it gets there, it takes you for a bit of a twist. Regardless of our lead character, the atmosphere, the way the film was set up, our surroundings, the environment had me. I was captivated enough to want to know what was happening next. This is something that I would certainly suggest to somebody who's into David Lynch type films. Perhaps a giallo film here and there. I get faint Tenebrae vibes from this movie, but not totally similar to either. But it's definitely something that if only for this third act, it sticks with you. It sticks with you for a while. I'm still trying to process it. You're bound to be intrigued enough to look up a ending explained video for this one. As for my score, I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars, especially considering it's something you watch at home. Quite fittingly, a movie of this type, bringing the nostalgia of watching movies on VHS, and it may strike harder for those of you in the UK. We didn't really have the video nasties that whole period, so some of it's unrelatable to this young American, but I would certainly say if it intrigues you to give it a shot. And of course, forget the word horror. If you're going there expecting a slasher, you're going to see some like gore and slasher stuff on screen. Again, I say by proxy. The lead character, Enid, she is a censor, censoring movies that have slashers and horror and gore in them, and that's what you're getting. Other than that, it's more psychological. It's a psychological drama. Again, the closest thing I would compare it to is probably something like Lynch. Again, faint faint Argento Tenebrae vibes. So that about does it for me. What about you? Have you seen this movie? What did you think? Are you planning on seeing this movie? What is holding you back? Let me know down below, and we can go over it a little bit further. If you enjoyed the video, giving it a thumbs up would help us out graciously. And if you'd like to see more material like this, hitting that subscribe button, followed by the bell, because this is now a two-step process for YouTube, so you can be notified of when new content is released on this channel. Special shout out to my patrons. And until next time, I have been CP. You haven't.